So when I was about 10 years old, um, my parents hadn't gotten divorced yet. We were all still living together under one roof. We lived in this glorified trailer. It wasn't. It was a prefabricated house, but it wasn't a trailer. But it was basically the same size and shape and layout that like a double wide trailer would have. That single hallway that has all the bedrooms off of it and the bathroom off of it, and then on one end there's kind of like that living room slash kitchen combo room that doesn't actually have a wall between the two of them. There's just like this awkward kind of bar slash island that on one side has like the sink and a counter space, and on the other side has like a space where there's like chairs and shit like that. That's what it looked like when my parents first moved in. But my dad didn't like that. You know, he wanted a traditional kitchen, so he actually, because the kitchen was in the back, it was the furthest away from the road, and he wanted it in the front because he didn't want people tracking in through his living room. So my dad actually extended pipes and, you know, turned stuff and did all this crazy stuff to move the kitchen from, you know, the back part of the trailer to the trailer to the front part of the trailer. You know, so pretty much all he did was just, you know, extend pipes and shit like that. And then he put up a wall, so then the kitchen became the living room and the living room became the kitchen. And he put up walls in the basement because he wanted to make the basement a finished basement, because the fancier houses behind us had full finished basements. Like the Molyneuxs behind us had a finished basement, and that always kind of like, you know, he always felt kind of like, whoa, you know, we should have a finished basement because those guys only live a street over. But those were the, you know, like the 2-story tall buildings. And they had garages and shit like that. But, you know, my dad was like, oh, I could just finish off 1/4 of the basement and that would be, you know, good enough for our purposes. So he did that. You know, my dad was extremely, you know, good at that type of shit. Real home improvement, Tim Allen, you know, Tim Taylor type, you know, but for real. And he was actually competent and could do shit like that. So me and my sister had our rooms, and a majority of our stuff wasn't in our rooms because my parents were pretty smart. They realized that grounding somebody and them having all their shit in their room isn't really punishment. So our bedrooms were pretty scarce. We had toys, and we had some toys in there, but like the stuff we actually gave a shit about was in the basement in this playroom. You know, so if we were grounded, you know, we couldn't, you know, go down and play the gaming consoles or play with the Commodore 64 or anything like that. Well, I'm taking a long time to get to this, but one time we were in the basement. Me and my sister were in the basement, and we were jumping around on the couch. We weren't supposed to, and like she jumped and kind of like smacked into me, and I fell down. And even though the floor was carpeted, it's a fucking basement, I smacked my head off of the floor. And that's when I had my first experience with having a seizure. And then ever since then, I get too stressed out, I have a seizure. So, you know, that's my head injury that certain people keep asking me about all the fucking time on unrelated videos, both here on YouTube and on BitTube. But yeah, I mean, this is before my parents got divorced, and you know, things seemed like they were okay. I mean, we had this nice house, you know, which was pretty much a glorified trailer in a really safe neighborhood where there was only one way into this big fucking cul-de-sac almost. It was a big round neighborhood that circled around a church, that there was only one way in and out of the street, and one of the houses at the very beginning of this big fucking, it looked like a big Santa, like a big sack almost. Well, one of the houses that everybody had to drive past to get into our neighborhood was a fucking cop for the town that I lived in. So, you know, nobody went into that neighborhood starting shit because everybody had to drive past a cop. Alright, it was one of the, everybody, my mom told me that it was considered the safest fucking neighborhood in town because of the way it was designed. You know, that's why all the neighborhood kids were just allowed to free roam all the time, because they didn't have to worry about creepy dudes with vans or anything like that, because it was like almost like living in a fucking gated community, because there was a member of law enforcement who lived at the beginning of the neighborhood. There was absolutely no other way to get into there. There was a church in the middle, so there was a lot of fucking church people there all the time. You know, and there was never anything bad in the neighborhood except for my family, pretty much. You know, when things started to go bad, my dad started, you know, becoming an alcoholic and, you know, fighting with my mom all the time and all this other crazy shit. That was like the worst thing that happened in the neighborhood, you know. So, but people stayed out of it, you know. I'm sure there was other drama going on with some of the other families, but people stayed out of it, you know. Because back then, you know, there was no Facebook and shit. Now you get into a fight, you get into a domestic squabble with your fucking wife or something like that. Your neighbors hear it. They post about you on Facebook, or they make a stupid YouTube video about it. You know, oh, my fucking neighbors are fighting again. You know, so yeah. But yeah, my dad was Tim Allen, pretty much, in a nutshell. And he was like that before Tim Allen was Tim Allen. You know, my dad was Tim Allen while Tim Allen was selling cocaine at airports, you know, and shit like that. So, yeah. Anyways, thanks for watching. Subscribe or whatever. Actually, don't. I don't fucking care anymore. So, alright. They shot lasers into my eyes.